Welcome, everyone. It's time for the 2023 Kartrider Drift League Team Finals. My name is Wolf. I'm joined by State again today. We've got a really sick matchup coming at you guys. The third time since Kartrider Drift that KWANGDONGFREECS will take on Liiv SANDBOX. How are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling ecstatic. Every single finals that we have had this year has been the KWANGDONGFREECS versus Liiv SANDBOX. KWANGDONGFREECS, they've been able to take it every single time. But, you know, the first two times, Wolf, it was preseason 1, it was preseason 2, and that was kind of like the spring training for the KDL. Yeah. Yes, you won, but you're not actually a champion. Now here today, we're finally going to crown the first championship in KDL history.
Those two preseasons meant a lot to these teams, and there was prize pools, or there were prize pools associated with them. But as State just mentioned, this is going to be the first one that goes on the record. You will be the first KDL champion. Let's talk about our overview here for our team match finals, because it's a pretty unique format. We have two phases, which essentially act as our regular season matches. So speed 4v4s, a best of 5, an item best of 5. If you tie 1-1, you go to an ace match just like regular season. But we play two of those, and then if those both go to one team, for example, like they did in preseason 2, KWANGDONG wins Phase 1, Liiv SANDBOX wins Phase 2, we go to an all-kill format, King of the Hill, for Phase 3.
Yeah, 4 team representatives, 4 players from each team, 1v1, winner stays on until one team is fully eliminated. And I'm really hoping today that we get to a Phase 3, because all-kill format, even going back to the glory days of esports like a decade ago, and a variety of other games, has always been such a thrill, something unique that you only really get a taste of in the grand finals of a KDL. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I think it's going to be a banger of a match. These two teams are incredibly close in skill. KWANGDONGFREECS, they have had the number of Liiv SANDBOX over, frankly, the entire year. But I would be surprised if LSB didn't take at least one phase and bring us to that all-kill format.
I mean, I hope that does happen, because I'd like to see a close match. The last time they did go to that Phase 3 in preseason 2, the King of the Hill went down to the final track, so it was extremely close. We've mentioned this a lot throughout the season, but if you're just tuning in for the finals, there is a 100 million won prize for the champions alone.
Yeah.
And then the runner-up, the difference in prize pool is quite massive from 100 to 40. Still a lot of money to take, but you want that 100 million.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this at a glance, 100 million Korean won, that's about 100,000 US dollars. You might think that's the total prize pool. No, that is just for first place. So a lot of money up for grabs, and additionally, the MVP will be selected from the match today. This is how it's going to be decided. Korean and English casters, there are 5 of us. Of course, only 2 here on the English squad. We're going to put our votes in after this show is done, as well as the Korean pre-show talent, the production, the observer, the media all coming in, and the MVP for today will get a nice 500,000 Korean won prize.
It's also, of course, the legacy that they will carry for being the inaugural season MVP.
Yeah.
The people will remember that forever. So really huge award to get. That's why we have a vote for it. It won't just be selected based on who wins the last track or anything like that. It is going to be a vote. So very common in Korean esports to make sure that it's kind of a democratic process, essentially, to decide who is the best amongst all the talent, and media even gets involved because they're very knowledgeable about these types of things as well. Here's the predictions. Unsurprisingly, KWANGDONGFREECS pulling up 73% of the vote here, and since they've done it twice already, and they've done it 7 times already in total this year, it's no surprise that fans think they'll do it again.
Yeah, 73 is a little bit on the high end, even given the history between these two teams. You know, for me personally, this year, I would maybe put it something more like 65 or 70, but almost 3/4, that's pretty crazy. But as you said, 8 times they've met, 8 times the Freaks have been victorious, whether it be in the regular season, whether it be in the postseason. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the only actual set won by Liiv SANDBOX was, I believe, Phase 2, if I'm not mistaken. They won just one of those phases, so they got their work cut out for them, man.
All right, so if you're new to Kartrider Drift League, in playoffs, we actually have a live pick and ban for our tracks here. So KWANGDONGFREECS starting things out with the first track selection. They'll also get first ban. They have priority coming to this. They won the top of the bracket, so they have the advantage going into this. We'll see where we are headed for these tracks. This is for speed mode. Village Boom Hill Tunnel is the first selection here before bans.
Yeah, Boom Hill Tunnel picked out for track number 1, and then another ban on a village track there coming through from the Freaks. Now, the next selection coming in from Liiv SANDBOX is actually going to be Mine-Winding Slopes in total that gets banned. So a little bit of a surprise there from LSB. I think about Mine-Winding Slopes, and I think of some insane plays that Neil's been making, taking really greedy builds
he
on
also,
those down slopes, but
he holds the track record for Mine-Winding Slopes right now as well, so a bit surprised to see that one banned. No shock here to see Terracotta Twister coming through, a track that is well known by everyone here in the KDL. And then a ban on Factory Facility 5 coming through here for KWANGDONGFREECS is no shocker. This is a track that's less seen and one that you don't want to actually, if you go deep into this best of 5, deal with, because it's just one that could throw a curveball. You don't want to be going, oh man, I might lose speed over this track I'm just not as good at.
Yeah, I mean, the shortcut on Factory Facility 5 is one of the trickier ones. If your hitbox just doesn't quite go exactly the way you want it to be, it can be pretty much track ending for you. And so I understand for the Freaks perspective coming in here is likely the favorite team to just frankly win in speed, both in Phase 1 and Phase 2. It's a nice pick. And
will KWANGDONG be willing to play Handy Harbor here is the question. It's still available. Nope, it's going to be Glacier Extreme Same.
Okay,
the two tracks I love the most. Okay, I knew it was going to be one of the two.
Yeah.
Handy Harbor, one that we saw Mire and Sejong play a lot. They were the only team really doing this, but since it wasn't banned, I thought maybe KWANGDONG was going to throw us a curveball, but they are going to take us to Glacier Extreme Same. So Glacier Extreme Stadium and Terracotta Twister, the two tracks that have seen the most play across the KDL preseasons, and then of course here in our inaugural season, because they were out when the game first released. They've always been part of our track pool, and they're tracks that, frankly, a lot of players have so much experience on they like to play. So those are the two that I look at that could be defining in this first series.
Yeah, even over the course of this entire year of KDL, when we think of tracks like Terracotta Twister, we think of tracks that are very technical, that the veteran teams in the regular season want to pick against the rookie teams because they can almost always pick up the win. They're very difficult tracks to manage perfectly. And I was actually hoping to do a little bit more analysis there in the map drafting stage, but they went so quickly through every single pick in band. These teams absolutely know exactly what their game plan is going to be for today in speed. And that's kind of surprising to me. I think that's probably the fastest map draft I've seen in any speed mode in any postseason so far in KDL.
I don't think we've ever seen faster, and they clearly knew what they wanted to play. We're going to Terracotta, right? That's the one that you know is going to come out. The Mine-Winding Slopes there as well. Not surprising to see that come out. And, you know, there's a lot to discuss, but we're going to have to go through our second draft here. Now, this is for item mode. And this is where sometimes we can do a little bit more analysis, because there are two styles of item mode play. One is what we call tempo-based, where you're trying to use items in non-stop attack to maintain a tempo advantage. The other is to try to do a timing-based finish. Mine Motherload, a little bit more on the tempo-based side. You can see a 6-1 record here for Liiv SANDBOX. They have track priority here for item, so it's no shock they picked this one first.
Yeah, Mine Motherload, a very fun track here in item mode, and Liiv SANDBOX seem to be quite confident there. Now, let's also keep in mind that KWANGDONGFREECS, because they had that advantage in speed mode, Liiv SANDBOX here does have priority in the item mode draft. Is some instant picks almost coming out from KWANGDONGFREECS, and not a surprising ban, taking out Mine Magma Cavern. That's a very tricky one, especially against a team as skilled in item mode as Liiv SANDBOX is. And then the pick coming in there for round 2 is actually going to be Forest Misty Falls.
Graveyard Dark Castle as well coming through here for Liiv SANDBOX. A rarer one, but one they've picked up a lot. They're 5-1 on it. It's also a bad record for KWANGDONGFREECS here at 1-3. I mean, it's hard to see a record that low for a team that has been so dominant, almost went undefeated in regular season. So a great pick here for Liiv SANDBOX. Forest Mushroom Caves will be banned away as well. Not really getting a sense of exactly what Liiv SANDBOX wants to do in terms of their play style today. More so, they've almost just game theoried which tracks they think KWANGDONG are best at and what they think they're best at, and are just doing it almost based on the stats.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if Polar Halfpipe was going to be the pick coming in here for the KWANGDONGFREECS. That's one of those tracks that Liiv SANDBOX really struggled in over the course of the regular season. Actually, no, it's going to be World Tour London Night, which is a track that does kind of play similar to Polar Halfpipe. It's one of those tracks that is not very much tempo-based. It's much more about going for that shortcut on the final lap and trying to set up kind of a wombo combo play, more akin to the item mode meta of KDL preseason 1, if you're one of those veterans that's been with us from the very beginning. So that will be track number 4 Final track selection going to Liiv SANDBOX, and they're really taking their time on this one.
Yeah, it could still be Polar Halfpipe here to come through. Oh, Cogwheel Crush, though. That's one that we saw a lot in preseason 1. And you could see 2-0 on it. Only 2 times played this season. KWANGDONGFREECS have no recorded tracks of this one because it's just so rare right now. This one is, I would say, more towards the tempo side of things, but there's a lot of environmental hazards on the track as well. So you really have to keep your wits about you on that one. We didn't end up going to Gondola either here. Another one that can be quite tricky. We saw it a lot towards the end of this season where, you know, you could fall off during the shortcut, during the Gondola portion, if there's a really nice timing that comes through. So Cogwheel Crush, bit of a curveball here, but see if Liiv SANDBOX can pull it off.
I think coming in here as the underdogs, you kind of want to go for some curveballs in your draft, especially in item mode against a team like KWANGDONGFREECS. And you know, on paper, KWANGDONGFREECS absolutely favored in speed, but I would say that Liiv SANDBOX, although it's not as big of an edge, they do still have an edge when it comes to item mode. They've been really solid over the course of the preseasons. Jimin, who is now their hybrid player, used to be their item ace.
So they have 2 item aces essentially. They have one
Dalda.
X, they have Dalda and 1 X item ace. So they have 2 specialists, whereas KWANGDONGFREECS have no item ace because they do not have someone who's dedicated to this position. So I really do think that we're in a position now where the item mode has to be how Liiv SANDBOX finds the angle.
Absolutely, that's what I'm planning for too. I think that you're going to be really favored coming through.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the history of these 2 teams and some of the storylines coming into this. As we've mentioned several times, KWANGDONGFREECS won preseason 1, won preseason 2, both against Liiv SANDBOX, and they played against each other early on in this tournament as well. This is Team Match 1 Speed Round 1. A replay of that was pretty competitive, very close. Great start to the season, to be honest. But KWANGDONGFREECS, once again, did get the better of Liiv SANDBOX.
Yeah, KWANGDONGFREECS just in general have been virtually undefeated when it comes to speed mode here in the KDL. And you know, in KDL preseason 1, they were already Titans, they were already the best speed mode team, but it felt like every single season after that, from KDL preseason 1 to preseason 2 to now the first official regular season, they've been a force to beat. But Liiv SANDBOX, occasionally the stars align like they do here on Desert Construction Chaos. And this is one of those tracks where really sweeping reigns supreme. We've seen it from Spear on KWANGDONGFREECS in a variety of matches over the course of the entire year. We've seen it from Hyunsu as well for Team Liiv SANDBOX. And so I still give the edge to the Freaks coming through. But Liiv SANDBOX, they are a little bit of a wild card here as we look at the postseason results. Now, KWANGDONGFREECS just absolutely dominant. They did not have the perfect score over the course of this regular season, but 6-1 overall, +9, +11 for the differentials, even taking down Liiv SANDBOX, 4-1 in speed, but much closer in item.
Yeah. And then Liiv SANDBOX, of course, having to fight their way through the lower bracket. They did end up taking out MSJ in a series that ended up being fairly close. You know, there were some people who really believed maybe MSJ were actually going to be the upset winners and they would actually be the first team to place against KWANGDONGFREECS in the finals. That wasn't Liiv SANDBOX to kind of break that mold. This also, of course, means that KWANGDONGFREECS have had some additional time to study Liiv SANDBOX, who had to play those extra series because they were locked down so early. So there's so much more data about Liiv SANDBOX right now. KWANGDONGFREECS have been able to hide strategies, have been able to hide maybe some new lines they have, for example, on some of these tracks. So they've had a ton of extra time to gain a huge advantage, and that's what you get when you make it to the upper bracket finals. We don't give double bracket resets or anything like that here in our tournament, but it's the time, really, that you have as a massive edge.
Yeah, but there is something to be said about coming in having just played and just won another match. KWANGDONGFREECS, it's been a little bit for them since they won the upper bracket finals. Liiv SANDBOX, although they did reveal some of their strats, you know, they are a bit more in the momentum of things coming off of a victory, so we'll see how that plays out as we take a look at the history here. From the preseason finals, KWANGDONGFREECS, both in preseason 1 and preseason 2, absolutely dominant against Liiv SANDBOX. Only phase 2 from preseason 2 going to Liiv SANDBOX.
And Liiv SANDBOX also just not having any results in terms of ace match wins against this team. World took out Neil, World took out Insu, who was really the ace for the team back then, who's since, of course, gone to the military and is taking a hiatus from professional play. He may return, we don't know, but Insu was a top-tier player. World defeated him, defeated Neil. World also defeated Hyunsu when they met in the preseason 2 finals. So Liiv SANDBOX has not been able to make it count in these finals with their ace matches with 3 different players. They played very few ace matches during the season, so they haven't been able to actually have a lot of time to shore that weakness up either necessarily. And that is a big concern of mine and why my prediction has been officially here 2-0 for KWANGDONGFREECS over Liiv SANDBOX, because I give the speed to KWANGDONG and I give the ace match to KWANGDONG almost every time. Neil might be able to show up today. He made it close in the solo finals, in which he was also defeated against a KWANGDONG's player in Cool just last week. But as much as we love Neil, as much as we trust him, he hasn't been able to prove it when it matters most in these big finals just yet.
Yeah, and as far as the regular season goes, he really hasn't been able to step up that much. As the stats we're looking at right now to break this down for you is the regular season leaderboard for team speed. So Looning on Rocks Esports was effectively the most skilled individual racer coming through, but KWANGDONGFREECS with Sungbin and World in position 2 and position 3. And notably on this list, yes, we do have Jimin, we have Byung-Soo, formerly known as Speed. There is no Neil to be found. And it's been kind of a significant drop-off for him in team speed, which frankly surprises me because, as you said, Wolf, he's been looking really good in the individual speed matches. So it's not as though his lines are necessarily worse. It's not as though he has lost his edge, his skill. But just over the course of this entire regular season, Neil absolutely hasn't been able to step it up. I mean, Byung-Soo, he is the official speed ace there for Liiv SANDBOX, but whenever I think of LSB, I think of Neil and Byung-Soo as the lead racers.
You compare two players, too, that are critical for their teams are missing here. In Spear and Neil, what Spear does means he wouldn't be on this list because he's the sweeper. He's not going to be hitting those top 3 ranks most of the time. He's often going to be sacrificing his own individual rank. But that's not really the role of Neil. And I feel like what KWANGDONGFREECS bring to the table as a 4-man unit is a really robust structure where roles are clearly defined. Now, that can also be a weakness at times as well when suddenly Spear's the one who's in first place. He had the best start, but he's not the greatest at holding on to that and being that runner in the front line. So that can be a weakness, but I think Liiv SANDBOX are much more free flow, which again can be good, but when you're going up against a top team like KWANGDONGFREECS that have that really strong structure, it can backfire for sure. You can see some of the stats between these two. Look at the first place finishes, 28 first place for KWANGDONGFREECS. That means only in 7 races of speed mode, they did not have the first place racer. That is insane.
Absolutely insane. And
it's crazy.
The high place once you finish is usually the 1-2 punch that you go for over the course of the regular season. Very even between KWANGDONGFREECS and LSB in that regard, but the first place just being absolutely on lock for KDF is truly incredible. And this is one of my favorite graphics that we have overall in this pre-show. This is the best individual record in team speed on any track. So Glacier Extreme Stadium, World is your guy. Brazil Circuit, Boom Hill Tunnel, Handy Harbor, that goes to Cool, Spear, and Sungbin. They've been the best over the course of this entire official season. But it's still 4-4 Liiv SANDBOX, although they have only 3 players represented on this list. Neil, we were talking about Winding Slopes, man. Yeah. He's the MVP on that track.
He is. Now, we have Terracotta Twister and Glacier Extreme Stadium as part of the track list as well. And those are the ones, to me, that I think are really going to be defining in this first phase of speed because they are the tracks that have the most experience of all 8 racers that we're going to be seeing in speed. Neil and World both have the record on them right now. Glacier Extreme for World, of course, Terracotta Twister for Neil. So really interested to see how that's going to shake out, especially because both of those tracks have turns in the indoor portion in Terracotta Twister and then the hairpin turns on Extreme Stadium where you can showcase the highest level of skill in kart rider drift. And there's an imminent risk as well that if you mess it up, you could fall off the track and actually lose your team everything. So it's a really exciting 2 tracks we have.
Yeah, here looking at the points of the race for Team Item World with some really stellar water bombs coming in against Liiv SANDBOX on Forest Mushroom Caves. That was in the upper bracket finals there in round number 6, which of course KDF, they were eventually able to dispatch Liiv SANDBOX leading up here into the grand finals. And Byung-Soo, although he is the speed ace here on this LSB team, it's actually Neil that swaps out from speed mode to let Dalda come in there for Item. So Byung-Soo, he will be performing here in Item, and so far, he's been really solid for LSB.
Yeah, in terms of the attacks here, this is all just about what we often call team fighting, weirdly enough, in Kart Rider Drift, where you're looking to find accuracy of these items and actually disrupt the opponents that you're facing. Using the barrier, which is an item that's very difficult to actually aim, Byung-Soo was able to hit that onto Navi and make a really incredible play there and then take out Hero with a water bomb. But World's double back-to-back water bombs actually sealed the deal for KWANGDONGFREECS to win that finals. It was an incredible moment. And then they ended up going straight to the grand finals. We had no ace match. KWANGDONGFREECS took it. And it was a really critical moment where World showcased, you know, I'm more than just an incredible speed racer. I've actually really improved my item. And I think that was one weakness Kwangdong had just in general, is they were so good at speed and very good at item. Now you could see that there's kind of a change happening in this roster where they're all becoming much more versatile.
Yeah, and they feel the confidence in that too. I remember from KDL Preseason 1, they identified as having 1 ace and 3 runners. And I think it was KDL Preseason 2 or this regular season where they changed their official quote-unquote positions when they registered their team, and they said, no. Now we have 1 ace and 3 hybrid players. We will beat you in speed and in item.
Yeah. Here are the stats, or rather the results from the Preseason 2 Finals Ace match, or King of the Hill, where it went 4-3, and KWANGDONGFREECS were able to win that last one on Zigzag Timberland. It was Sungbin who took out Hyunsu. But this is kind of a precursor to how close this finals could be and how close it was just last time around, and also how this format works. So, see, Cool wins against Byung-Soo, so he stays up. Then Liiv SANDBOX have to call up a new player. Then Jimin won, so Cool went out, etc., etc. World wins 2 in a row, so he stays up. It's winner stays, and then the other team has to pull one of their 4 players in, and you basically have 4 lives.
Yeah, it's a tricky format. I think if it does go to a Phase 3 and we go to this all-kill format, it's going to be very close. I would not be surprised to see another 4-3 or maybe a 4-2 between these two teams going possibly either way. But for me, my concern is just like yours. It's, can Liiv SANDBOX actually get there? Can they win one of these phases? If they do, I think it's going to have to be through an item mode. It's going to have to be through an ace match. But that's a tall order. LSB, over the course of this entire regular season, I don't believe they played a single ace match up until the postseason. So it's really been kind of a tough situation for a team that struggled in ace matches in Preseason 1 and Preseason 2 and then never really got a chance to get their feet wet again and try and break off the rust they had accumulated over the course of the entire year. Now taking a look at the key racers, it's going to be World for KDF, and Neil is the selections in. And the head-to-head records on Mind-Winding Slopes, 3 times in a row. Preseason 1 Finals, Preseason 2 Finals. World has been able to take it to Neil.
And a lot of these were Neil choking. Notice the Season 1 Finals, the 1.7 seconds different there. That's because Neil made a massive mistake there despite being the leader and actually ended up losing. That's a massive disparity in terms of time.
Yeah, I think that might have been when he clipped one of those support beams in the intersection, if I remember correctly.
And those are the kind of mistakes that Neil will never show you almost ever in regular season. But in some of these critical matches and these ace matches, we have seen him make some of those errors. So if he does end up being the ace tonight, which I think is very likely in any potential ace scenario that we do have, he's going to have to make sure that his wits are about him. He raced very close against Cool, went down to the wire, the final 5th track there in the finals just a week ago. And so there's a lot on Neil's mind. He wants to get revenge on Cool. He wants to get revenge on Kwangdong, not only for losing to a Kwangdong player in the solo finals again, but also losing to Kwangdong twice already in back-to-back preseasons. And he's really just trying to prove for himself that he can turn it around this time.
You know, one of the surprising things about this, too, is that Mind-Winding Slopes, that's the track that Neil holds the record on for speed this season, and yet 3 times he meets World on what should be his best track, or one of his best tracks at least, and 3 times he's defeated. So really, World has been the kryptonite for this LSB team in ace matches throughout basically the entire year. And I think if they're going to try to win one of these phases, it's going to have to be in an ace match against World. That's a tough order.
Yeah, and I think I'm on the same page as you in that I do feel that I don't think we're going to see Liiv SANDBOX win either phase of speed. But if they do, that really does change a lot of these dynamics, because then suddenly things get a little bit more interesting. Let's talk about what the teams have actually predicted here. So you can see Finale and Always predict a 2-0 here for KWANGDONGFREECS, which is my prediction as well. And then Desperado and Nutmite expecting KWANGDONGFREECS to win in that King of the Hill. But Rox and MSJ actually going for Liiv SANDBOX. Rox saying a 2-0 for Liiv SANDBOX, and MSJ saying they're going to do it in that King of the Hill.
The 2-0 really surprises me.
Same.
I mean, my entire thought process during this is like, they're gonna have to win an item. If they win in speed, then maybe they can, you know, win a phase without going to an ace match. But they gotta force that phase 3. And man, Rox Esports. Did like Liiv SANDBOX buy him dinner or something? That's a lot of faith.
Maybe some scrims, maybe some extra practice they've done leading up into this finals that really makes them feel like they're the better team right now, but only time will tell. We're going to take a very short break, guys. Thank you so much for watching our pre-show. When we come back, the finals will begin.
I gotta cool down, 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 cool down. I gotta cool down, 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 cool down. I'm too hot for this, I gotta cool down. I'm too hot for this, I gotta cool down. I'm too hot for this, I gotta cool down. I'm too hot for this, I gotta cool down. Pass me the fan, I gotta cool down. Hold on a minute, let me fix my crown. We the best here, yeah, there's no doubt. Wanna know how I do it? Let me break it down. Keep it moving to the top. Push it, never stop. Make it fun, make it pop. Hustle till you drop. Keep it moving to the top. Push it, never stop. Make it fun, make it pop. Hustle till you drop. I gotta cool down, cool down, cool down, cool down, cool down, cool down. I gotta cool down, 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 cool down. I'm too hot for this, I gotta cool down. I'm too hot for this, I gotta cool down. I'm too hot for this, I gotta cool down. I'm
mouth, better add the respect. Otherwise, pressure gon' be at your neck, run up on you like. This ain't a game, my aim is to throw. I'm much higher than you, like a rocket, a drone. I'm powerful, think of a stone, throw it off in my brain and I'm bad to the bone.
We've witnessed the beginning of the new era of Kartrider League to Kartrider Drift League. We've had 2 pre-seasons, but now we are going to crown the first champions of the Kartrider Drift League, the first official champions to lift that trophy right before you on stage and cement themselves in the history of the new era of Kartrider.
Will it be the KWANGDONGFREECS or Liiv SANDBOX? These 2 teams have been titans from the beginning of the year all the way up until now. And the first team to enter this stage, KWANGDONGFREECS. And this feels like the team of destiny, Wolf. They won KDL preseason 1. They won KDL preseason 2. They have been the team to beat all year. And not one team has been able to step up and rise to the occasion.
No one has stopped this team. They did it twice in a row. They are the defending champions of solo as well, with Cool taking that title last week. Now they take to the stage here to try to defend their preseason legacy as the first Kartrider Drift team champions. The KWANGDONGFREECS extremely dominant, but there is a team that stands in their way, and it'll be the 3rd time Liiv SANDBOX will take this stage against the KWANGDONGFREECS. They were stopped in preseason 1. They were stopped in preseason 2. But in the first official finals, Neil leads the charge with a smile as he looks to get revenge for those last 2 defeats, his defeat just last week at the hands of Cool.
Liiv SANDBOX, a team that has faced the KWANGDONGFREECS time and time again in the regular season, in the postseason, from KDL preseason 1 to preseason 2 to this season right here, right now. And it's been a struggle from start to finish, but this is where it counts, Wolf.
This is where it counts. And we are about to get this kicked off. There is a ton of fans here in the audience to witness the birth of a new champion here in Kartrider Drift League. And as Sungke takes the stage here, he's letting everyone know the stakes here. It's a big, incredible match. And we're gonna let him have his moment here to start the finals.
We're getting so close to that moment. Liiv SANDBOX versus KWANGDONGFREECS has been the story all year. Sungke getting ready, hyping up the crowd.
It's time to start it. And here we go. Let's start the KDL 2023 Team Finals.
일단 3번 연속으로 결승 진출하게 돼서 기분이 좋고, 근데 또 상대가 샌드박스라서 더 기분이 좋습니다.
뭐 무덤덤하고요. 상대가 공동이라 더 좋은 것 같아요.
라이벌 상대인 샌드박스를 2대 0으로 좀 쉽게 이겨서 좀 쉽게 올라온 것 같아요.
이번 패배로 인해서 저희 팀 팀원들 승부욕이 많이 올라왔고 또 이를 갈았기 때문에 좋은 경험이었던 것 같아요.
2대 0으로 다 이기고 있어서 샌드박스와 저희의 실력이 되게 차이가 점점 벌어지고 있다고 생각합니다.
뭔가 좀 어설픈 그런 느낌 많이 받았던 것 같아요. 일단 리빌딩 전과 후에 같은 점은 항상 저희한테 졌었다는 거고요. 다른 점은 더 쉬워졌다는 거. 원인은 여기 있지 않나?
병수 선수가 너무 못해가지고 그 차이가 큰 것 같습니다. 이제 리그장만 오면 벌벌 떠는 것 같더라고요.
아무리 그래도 월드 선수는 제가 이기지 않을까요?
준현이 형 말이 맞는 것 같아요. 제가 스피드전 잘하는 법을 가르쳐 드리겠습니다.
뭔데요?
뭐 이따가 제 플레이 보고 배우세요.
이번 시즌 저희가 전부 2대 0으로 승리한 이유는 그냥 하나인 것 같아요. 저희가 잘해서 된 것 같습니다.
개인적으로 경기장에서 어떻게 잘하는지 이미 알았어요. 그래서 결승전 때 기대해봐요.
일단 리브 샌드박스 같은 경우에는 밴픽을 할 때 초반에 좀 무난한 트랙을 위주로 픽을 하더라고요. 어려운 트랙을 밴하는 걸로 봐서는 그냥 어려운 트랙을 단순하게 못하기 때문에 하는 거지 않을까.
아니요, 우리 팀 어려운 트랙이 특별 잘해요. 왜 이재호 선수 이렇게 생각해? 저도 모르겠어요. 이상해요.
스피드전 자신 없어서 그런 거 아니에요?
쿨, 네스컬링 맞을걸래?
정규 시즌 오고 나서 스피드 강팀 느낌이 좀 많이 나고 무엇보다 애결 카드가 좀 많아가지고 그 부분이 좀 강점인 팀인 것 같아요.
유리한 상황일 때 붙이는 거를 잘 하는 것 같아요.
근데 너무 착하게 말했는데 아까는 막 버스충이라고. 창현이는 옛날부터 센스가 좋았기 때문에 팀이 불리한 상황일 때 슈퍼플레이로 팀을 승리로 이끄는.
예전에는 내 뒷공문이 따라오던 애가 많이 컸구나 그냥 생각하고 있어요.
3, 4년 전 일이기 때문에 지금은 창현이가 제 앞범퍼 모습을 모를 거예요.
근데 솔직히 유리한 상황일 때 붙이는 거는 그냥 현수 말고 누구나 다 잘하는 거라 그렇게 잘하는 건가?
창현이처럼 슈퍼플레이를 보여주는 거는 성공하면 대박이고 실패하면 뭐 그냥 8등 하는 거고 유리한 상황이 잘 안 돼봐서 모르는 것 같은데 그렇게 막는 것도 쉬운 게 아니거든요.
근데 우승하려면은 저처럼 해야죠.
근데 창현이가 저를 뚫을 수 있을까요? 결승 때 성과 방패의 싸움 기대해주세요.
광동 프리스 아이템전 못해요. 진짜 못해요. 그리고 솔직히 준현이 형이랑은 아이템전 얘기할 게 없는 것 같아요.
저한테 뭐 아이템 못한다 뭐니 하는데 저한테 물 다 잡히셔가지고 이겼잖아요. 결승 때도 그런 모습 보여드려가지고 아이템도 덜어주겠습니다.
준현이 형은 실드나 잘 눌렀으면 좋겠어요.
그건 할 말 없습니다.
광동 프리스 풀리그에서 에이스 결정전 갔던 거 다 아이템전 져서 그런 거잖아요.
그래서 8강 풀리그 1등 하셨나?
저희 2등 했습니다, 2등.
잘하시네요.
리브 샌드박스는 러너를 한번 달리게 하고 상대와 좀 격차를 벌이게 하는 전략을 쓰더라고요. 근데 저희랑 할 때는 격차 그렇게 못 벌리시던데 결승에서도 그렇게 하실 거예요?
근데 저희 전략이 그거 하나뿐이라고 생각하시진 않죠? 진짜로 그렇게 생각하시는 거면 좀 바보 같은 생각이라고 저는 생각드네요.
아이템전도 신수가 제일 잘하는 것 같아요.
저도 창현이라고 생각해요. 좀 기분이 좋아졌는데 옛날에 아이템을 배우기도 했고 워낙 옛날부터 아이템을 잘하고 센스가 좋은 선수다라고 많이 알려져 있어서
저한테 배운 애가 팀에서 제일 잘하면 많이 잘한 거 아닌가요?
그냥 제가 결승전 때 아이템 에이스가 왜 필요한지 증명하도록 하겠습니다.
일단 스피드 잡은 팀이 좀 더 유리할 것 같지만 그래도 결승이라 애결 갈 것 같은 느낌이 있어요. 근데 지금 상현이가 애결 안 나오더라고요. 왜 안 나오는지 모르겠는데
다 제가 나간다 안 해도 전부 다 너무 나가고 싶어 하길래 안 나갔어.
결승 애결에도 아이경이 나왔으면 좋겠습니다.
현수 이죠. 이러면 현수 이번에는 극복을 해냈습니다.
IT 형이요? 그 맵 좀 빼면 좋겠는데. 사빈공이랑 사실 익스트림 아니면 다 좋아요.
제가 또 릴이랑 많이 붙어봤는데 일단 제가 데이터베이스상 더 앞서고 있는 것 같거든요. 그래서 제가 이길 것 같아요.
저는 8강에서 3번 애결 다 이겼어요. 오히려 재혁 선수는 애결 좀 아쉬워요. 네, 그래서 저는 이길 수 있을 것 같아요.
제가 저번 시즌에는 개인적 우승자였던 굴 선수를 너무 쉽게 이겨가지고 이번에는 월드 선수를 이겨보고 싶네요. 첫 주제로 나오세요.
빡세요. 지민 선수랑 프리시즌 2 때 한번 해본 적이 있는데 되게 잘해가지고 당황도 했었고, 그래서 이번에 승자전전 가면은 지민 선수가 제일 견제가 되는 것 같습니다.
쿨 선수는 워낙에 주행을 잘하는 선수니까 뭐 이해하는데 성민 선수는 제가 주행으로 이길 것 같은데요.
저는 병수 선수 자체를 잘 몰라요. 노란색 머리일 때는 좀 눈에 띄었었는데 검은색 머리 한 거 보니까 누군지 처음에 몰랐어요.
근데 저도 나올 가능성이 없지 않아 있거든요.
승자전전에서 달다가 나온다? 완전 공생이죠.
광동 프릭스의 유창현 씨도 저랑 같이 32강 탈락인 걸로 아는데 그럼 똑같은 거 아닌가요?
일단 인정하는 우승이었어요.
아니. 그냥
제가 올해 광동 프릭스에 들어왔을 때 감독님이랑 선수들한테 3번 다 우승하겠다고 말씀을 드렸었는데 그럼 이번 결승전에서 끝맺음 짓겠습니다.
샌드박스가 미안해. 우려가 이번 연도는 가져갈게.
그래, 이벤트 리그 너네 가져가고 정규 시즌 우리가 가져갈게.
박현수만 찾겠습니다.
창 그냥 부셔버리겠습니다.
이벤트 리그 2번 우승하게 해줬으니까 진짜 별은 저희가 달려갈게요.
저희만큼 동기부여가 잘 된 팀이 없다고 생각하는데 이번 우승은 저희가 가져가겠습니다.
일단 제가 또 개인전 로열 로더를 달성했기 때문에 이번에 팀전까지 양대 우승을 노려볼 수 있게 됐습니다. 많은 응원 부탁드릴게요.
내 손으로 우승 트로피 잡을게요. 그래서 팬분들 많이 기대해 주세요. 리브 샌드박스 파이팅!
We've now set the stage for our 2023 KDL Team League Finals. Had some trash talk between Liiv SANDBOX and KWANGDONGFREECS, some really memorable ones in there as well.
진짜 못해요. They cannot play item mode. KDF cannot play item mode. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I like that video.
I appreciate how bold and unflinching Neil was with his Korean as well.
Yeah, he was really good, actually. I'm surprised. I heard that he was in, I can't remember what level he got to in like the Korean studying program, but he's picking it up quick.
Yeah, there was definitely some scripted moments in there that he nailed for sure. You know, it's a traditional Korean trash talk video. Love that we're seeing it. We got it subtitled for you guys, so I hope you all enjoyed it. But yeah, I mean, the stage is set, and a lot of the things the players talked about in that trash talk video were things that we were talking about in the pre-show, like, for example, Liiv SANDBOX believing that Kwangdong is terrible at item mode, as they're saying is maybe one of the weak points that they can attack to bring us to ace matches, which is what you and I both believe is going to happen tonight if we're going to see this go the distance.
Yeah, I think if Liiv SANDBOX is able to take one of these speeds, whether it be in Phase 1 or in Phase 2, they have a really good shot of forcing that King of the Hill in. While historically, the 1v1 ace matches have absolutely gone KDF's way over the course of this entire year. When it comes to that King of the Hill format, It has been unbelievably close, but now at last it is time to get going. KWANGDONGFREECS take to the stage. Sungbin and World absolutely leading the charge here in terms of running second and third overall over the entire season. And team speed, but you cannot forget Cool and Spears sweeping.
Exactly, and it's hard to actually get to approach 3 in terms of your average speed rank. It means you're going in the top half every race, essentially. You've worked hard throughout the year-long league. We will do our best until the end and learn from you. Very polite here, a little bit unusual from KWANGDONGFREECS.
It's funny to see that kind of polite message after an 8-minute trash talk video. But this is going to be a thrill, man.
It is going to be a thrill.
I cannot wait to get started. And for Liiv SANDBOX here coming into team speed mode, I feel like there isn't that much pressure on this specifically. Of course, you're going to be giving it your absolute all to win here in speed because with their prowess in item mode, at least relative to the KWANGDONGFREECS, I think they have a really good chance of taking a phase if they can win in speed. But frankly, they're a little bit outmatched here. And speaking as someone that's kind of been in the booth as a pro player before, when you are the underdog going up against a big opponent, and we already saw the fan votes, it was what, 73% in favor of KDF? That takes a little bit of the weight off your shoulders here for Liiv SANDBOX, right? And I mean, they're saying it themselves. You know, we've fallen 7 times. We've stood up 8. Yeah. And hey, maybe the 8th time is the charm.
So Liiv SANDBOX, to contextualize this for fans watching the finals, maybe you don't know about KartRider Drift League. Liiv SANDBOX was the dominant force in KartRider League. Before KartRider Drift, they won every single tournament basically since they joined the league as SANDBOX. They've lost to KWANGDONGFREECS in KartRider Drift so far. Every time they faced, they are 0-7. But on the 8th time of asking to be the first champions, that is the goal here for Liiv SANDBOX. We did our track selection earlier. We're headed to Boom Hill Tunnel first. Terracotta Twister will follow, then Desert Construction Chaos, WKC Brazil Circuit, and then finally, if necessary, Glacier Extreme Stadium will be the deciding track.
Yeah, and it's a little surprising from the Trash Talk video. Some of the players on KWANGDONGFREECS were saying Liiv SANDBOX not really fans of the tougher speed mode tracks, but coming through with the picks there on Terracotta Twister, I mean, that's one of the more challenging ones that we get. That's one of those tracks that you get in the inner tomb section and your fate can change in the blink of an eye.
It certainly can. It is going to be momentum-based here, this best of 7. The grand finals now finally are going to begin. KWANGDONGFREECS to defend their preseason titles against Liiv SANDBOX, challenging for their first. It all starts on Village Boom Hill Tunnel.
The grand finals for 2023 KDL begins now here. KWANGDONGFREECS versus Liiv SANDBOX, and Neil and Jimin off to a fantastic start, Wolf.
Getting this kind of start is massive, but Spears already trying to break through here. Midfield very much in control here by KWANGDONGFREECS, but Spear is actually going to have to be the one who breaks through. We talked about some of the rigidness of KWANGDONGFREECS. It's usually not Spear who's the one who challenges top 3. He denies it, but with the fantastic start that Neil and Jimin had here, it's a bit of a tough one for KWANGDONGFREECS in this one-lap track.
Yeah, Spear playing a little bit of a 1v3 right now, and his game plan is going to be trying to take one of these tight corners, get past Huntu if he can, and then slow down to 2 and 3 for LSB. So the players like World, Cool, and Sungbin can start to catch up. But you know, Byungsu, the speed ace for LSB right now, he is off screen, but I guarantee you him in that 6th position is sweeping his heart out, trying to keep KWANGDONGFREECS under control. And so far here, about halfway through lap number 1, oh no! Byungsu just fell off, he missed the skip!
Yeah, he tried to go for the Neil build there, and he completely misses it, and that is huge. But I mean, there's just not enough numbers here. Cool with a nice spin turn, but the distance is just too much. Doesn't matter if Byungsu falls off here. It looks like the 1-2 may just be the win condition. Shortcuts here clean. Cool trying to save some time to cut through, but it is not going to happen. Liiv SANDBOX are going to take this one 1-2 here. The win condition, risky moment there for Hyunsu on the missed jump. That's going to get his heart rate up, but Liiv SANDBOX will still take the first track.
Yeah, 1-2 coming through in the clutch there for LSB. You can see some of the laughs as Hyunsu, I mean, missing that turn. Oh, that's a painful one. It's kind of a tricky too, because you got to hit the hitbox on the bridge just right to be able to do the Neil build. And time again, we see these pro teams able to execute it, but here on the biggest stage with all of this pressure, Hyunsu fallen a little bit flat, but luckily, Liiv SANDBOX had one of the best starts I've seen for them against KDF on any track all season. And they got the 1-2-3, and they basically didn't relinquish it the entire time, and they still finished with the 1-2.
And unfortunately for Kwang, it was really Spear, the only one who could compete with him there. And even though he's a fantastic sweeper in his own rights, they didn't have enough numbers. They didn't have enough behind him to actually pass and break through there. The defensive plays from Neil were quite good, to be totally honest. And we're going to see if that momentum is going to carry forward here for Liiv Sandbox as we now head into our second track, a classic here in KDL, Terracotta Twister. Off we go here, Liiv Sandbox with a dominant win on the first track. But in our second here, it's KWANGDONGFREECS who get the better start.
Yeah, Sungbin, Cool, and Spear right there in the third position. That's exactly where you want him to be, although Hyunsu with that nice inner line was able to pass it for just a moment. Now Spear, over the course of this entire KDL regular season, has been displaying some of the best sweeping we have seen, frankly, ever here in the KDL. He has absolutely been living up to his reputation as a fantastic sweeper, so we'll see how that comes into play over the course of this entire finals. And you see him right there trying to collide with Byungsu, trying to throw him off track a little bit as we enter the tomb section. Byungsu, the lead racer here for LSB, but he's struggling to close the ground. Now, there weren't any hiccups there. That was pretty well executed from basically all 4 players entering the tomb, but the 1-2 lead here for Cool and Sungbin is so massive, Wolf.
The role for Spear now as the sweeper is to just prevent anyone from getting anywhere near Cool and Sungbin and just constantly trying to keep them at bay. It doesn't have to be Byungsu he stops. This is why you often see the 1-2-4 in these types of setups for Kwangdong, because they're just trying to build distance between Sungbin, Cool, and the midfield, and Liiv Sandbox occupying the bottom of these spots. And Byungsu with a mistake here. This one's pretty much over. It's pretty much done, so look at the distance.
I don't even know if I would call that a mistake. He was trying to dodge Spear, and the Spear, I mean, his sweeping is just impeccable. Even World doing it. That's another LSB player clipping the corner. And I mean, I hate to be anti-hype, but the displays coming out from KWANGDONGFREECS, Spear, and even World coming in with some absolutely unbelievable blocking. Look at this. He's just stopping Neil at every turn.
Too, on the player cam.
Yeah,
he's laughing.
He's smiling, man. He is on the top of the world. And this is going to be one of the most convincing ones he finishes. It's going to be like a... Oh, man, I wish we went back to Hyunsu because I want to see how many meters from the finish line. That was like 150, 200-meter gap. And KDF responding with force there in track number 2 on Terracotta Twister. That was so dominant.
It was insanely dominant. More dominant than the first track we just saw. And Byungsu gets pushed in, tries to take that greedy line, gets swept away. But what else could he do? He has to try to force those lines or there's just no way he's going to be able to compete. He falls back, and it is a track record, as I was suggesting. With that much space, it will be Sungbin who actually takes Neil's track record away from him by, it looks like, almost an entire second.
Yeah.
And that's just what good sweeping is going to give you, the opportunity to basically time trial the track and not deal with any other obtrusions. What the momentum Liiv Sandbox had in that first track looked great, but man, a loss like that one is definitely going to take the wind out of your sails.
Man, KWANGDONGFREECS coming back with a vengeance there to tie this series up 1-1. Best of 5 continues on here in speed mode. Grand finals, Liiv Sandbox versus the KWANGDONGFREECS, and now we're going to the Sweepers Paradise Wolf Desert Construction Chaos. The 1-2 finish was absolutely massive there for the Freaks, but I gotta say the spotlight from that track for me, absolutely Spear, and we'll see what magic he can make happen here on Construction Chaos.
Now the start here was really nice for Kwangdong at the outset, but they weren't able to actually maintain control here. World is the only who battles here in this top position, so I'm gonna try to take this inner line and cut across. Very competitive actually here in our top 5 right now, but Byungsu coming in again, trying to make sure they can push World back and gain control. Jimin here as we move into these really tight 90-degree turns here. Let's see how well he can hold off against one of the best racers in the world no pun intended.
Construction Chaos here on the uphills, going for the 90-degree turns. Some of the hardest possible plays you can make are passing a player with an inner line on these turns. You got to really manage your brakes. You got to be very careful going through some of these slower sections. And with Jimin and Byungsu having the lead, they have, ooh man, even an unforced error coming in right there on Sungbin. LSB starting to build a pretty big lead with both Jimin and Byungsu, the speed ace, absolutely rolling with this one after lap number 1.
Now, there's no real insurance policy here, though, for Jimin and Byungsu. They're both going to have to brace this basically flawlessly and make no mistakes here because the midfield is completely controlled by KWANGDONG. Any mistake here, and they will win on points, absolutely. If you win 1 and 2, you're guaranteed to win the race in Car Rider Drift. So Byungsu and Jimin have to hold on. Jimin has improved so much as a player this year. He was the item ace, and now he's racing up here with Byungsu in top 2, competing with World, and he is just driving better right now.
World is taking some really nice lines, though. He's getting closer and closer, and it might come down to the blocking here for Jimin in the second rank position. Can he do it, or will World be able to find the inner line? He is closing the distance right now on these straightaways, taking some really greedy turns.
World is so close to actually closing that gap here. He takes this direct diagonal there, is in draft range now. He's closing the gap. He's got a chance here.
Oh, coming through right now with a draft could be absolutely huge. 3, 4, 5 right now for KDF. World is gonna be able to take first place. No, just second and third. Is that gonna be enough points though? LSB are gonna barely edge them out, I think, and yes, 20-19, as close as it could possibly get. And Liiv SANDBOX, although they had a dominant first lap there, only won by a thread.
And World's second lap there was incredible to watch. Some of the inners he took, the turns he was taking, the lines transitioning from 190 to the next without losing any speed. The break he took to take that diagonal to give him that final jump opportunity was almost enough to put KWANGDONG back in it. It's cool being an 8th, really, that unfortunately for KWANGDONGFREECS will stop them from taking this just by a single point. But I gotta give Jimin and Byungsu credit as well. They held on to that lead for so long, knowing the midfield was KWANGDONGFREECS'. They raced perfectly, they took every risk, they did not just take it safe, because they knew if they fall behind, if they give Cool that opportunity, it's not going to be an option for them. They're just simply going to lose.
Yeah, but props to Neil and Hyunsu for coming back on those lower ranks and reinforcing the midfield as LSB takes the lead 2-1. Let's go to track number 4. It's gonna be WKC Brazil Circuit.
Off we go, Liiv SANDBOX with the momentum advantage, 2-1 here in speed. It's been much more competitive than a lot of analysts predicted going into this finals. And once again, Liiv SANDBOX with a better start here on what is a very open 2-lap track. There's a lot of different lines you can take. You can use your nitro to actually take an unusual path through the grass. There are the most efficient lines you can take, but you can take an unusual one if you want to use that nitro, as Neil's going to do here, to cut across and actually take a risk. And it pays off here. It maintains top 3. Very competitive start to this race. Spear trying to cut his way into top 5 so we can start some of that sweeping, but Liiv SANDBOX definitely have the numbers advantage right now.
Yeah, Liiv SANDBOX with a numbers advantage, and Jimin's really been racing out of his mind these past couple of tracks, just constantly threatening top 3 or top 2, as Sungbin is going to take the lead right now for KDF, but midfield besides Hyunsu in favor of Liiv SANDBOX, but oh man, that turn goes a little bit wide, and KWANGDONGFREECS with a couple of tight inners there coming in from Spear and Cool now finally have the lead.
Let's see if Sungbin can hold on to this first place here. Jimin takes a nice draft and actually just skirts around him. Sungbin unable to find the block there, just too risky for him to actually try to go for it there. Would have lost too much momentum. He's hoping for Spear to actually come up and be the hero. Spear does maintain 4th place here, and KWANGDONGFREECS just a point ahead. If Sungbin can get first, they are pretty much guaranteed, as we're going to see again that tight inner through the grass here taken by Liiv SANDBOX in the second lap.
Yeah, but Brazil Circuit is one of those harder tracks to actually hold on to that 1-rank position coming down this stretch, as there are a lot of different lines. You can't really block all angles on this track, so for LSB right now, trying to threaten Sungbin any way they can. Jimin going to come in with a trap. He has double blue nitrous in the bag, as does Byungsu. They're going to try and use those, but Sungbin, to his credit, he's doing a fantastic job zoning them out. Will it be enough, though?
Great block. It's so close here right now. Sungbin maintaining first with Cool. They could get a 1-2 here. Byungsu on the outer. Does he have enough speed? I don't think so. It is not going to be enough, and KWANGDONGFREECS will tie us up 2-2 here with a 1-2 finish. Absolutely close. This one down to the wire. Had to get a photo finish for that one.
Yeah,
and I mean, like you said, it's so hard to defend on this track, and Sungbin had so many moments where he actually blocked on a turd in some of those wider grassy areas in the final like 1,000 meters or so of the track. He maintains first place and actually sets a track record over his teammate Cool. And that was one, I mean, that was, you see that, then you see Cool is right behind him, then you see Jimin as well, also would have broken the record. You realize, goodness, how well everyone is racing tonight. It is insane.
I mean, everybody, whether it be KWANGDONGFREECS or Liiv SANDBOX, they are stepping up, as We're going to track number 5 here in a moment, all tied up 2-2. The winner of this track will take speed mode here in phase 1 of the finals. All coming down to this. Will it be KWANGDONGFREECS or Liiv SANDBOX who takes speed in the first phase? We're about to find out here as we head on to the last track, Glacier Extreme Stadium. It's been a back and forth best of 5 from start to finish, and Jimin really has been a star here for LSB. Once again, off to a great start, and Byungsu as well, just barely getting ahead of Sungbin. Oh, a little bit of ping pong in there, though.
Yeah, a bit of a bump there, but man, Jimin and Byungsu, their starts have been so consistent, and that is half the battle, honestly, in speed mode. And Sungbin here once again takes first place. Oh, nice attempt there to push Jimin, but it does backfire. Jimin actually will sneak around that outer. Now he and Hyunsu are fighting for that 1 and 2 with Spear here. There's been the unlikely runner here for KWANGDONGFREECS tonight in this finals thus far. As here comes the first hairpins, this is the real test.
Yeah, Spear now coming in here in second place. Will he be able to find the inner lines to actually upseat Jimin from this first ranked position? Third place does belong to Hyunsu, so Spear would love to close the distance, but barring a nice draft right here, he might be able to take it on this turn, but Jimin with a block again, really slowing him down. And the top 4 is rounded out with 2 more Liiv SANDBOX players. And Wolf, I mean, lap number 1, it's done. Liiv SANDBOX is looking like they might be taking speed mode here in phase 1.
It does look that way, and that would be such a momentum breaker for Kwangdo, who historically have struggled on items so much here, but it's really just Spear alone, just like track 1. World tries to find his way in here, but he doesn't have the angle as Byungsu blocks him twice. And it's really going to have to be some miraculous hairpin actually, or a huge mistake from Jimin, but he already had such a great first hairpin here. I just don't see KWANGDONGFREECS taking this unless something drastic happens. Let's see what World can get done.
It's getting closer and closer, though. Spear does have that first place position, and if World can find some miracle to join him there in the higher ranks, there is a world where KDF is able to take this one, but Liiv SANDBOX right now in control as we enter the final 400 meters. Everyone goes to the jump turn, and the 1-3-4. No, it's going to be a 1-2-3 here for LSB. And in a surprising upset, phase 1 speed going into the advantage of Liiv SANDBOX. I mean, I was not anticipating this start at all to the grand finals.
Absolutely not. And to see 2/3 of those wins to be as dominant as they were. Track 1 pretty dominant, and then the final track a 1-2-3. It mirrored track 1 in a lot of ways, where it was just Spear, the only one who could really challenge, but Hyunsu, Neil, and Byungsu take it in the end. 1, 2, and 3. Jimin does fall back there, but the fantastic starts we are seeing from Liiv SANDBOX are really quite a departure from what we've seen when these teams have matched up at speed across this year, and clearly the work has been put in here, because KWANGDONGFREECS, like Aura were when they were one of the underdogs running back in the preseasons, were known for extremely good setups early, taking those early advantages and then running with them. And we saw the exact opposite for the majority of those tracks here with Liiv SANDBOX, and that is a very telling sign that maybe this could be the night for them, as we will now have Dalda in for Neil. He'll be subbing out because the item ace is coming in for item mode. But State, man, I think the momentum has shifted. If you ask me who I think is going to take it now, I might have to change my opinion, because this is a different Liiv SANDBOX, what we are seeing tonight in this finals.
I mean, out of the gate, it pretty much every single track Liiv SANDBOX was playing to win, and they made statements on 3 out of those 5 tracks with their openings just absolutely phenomenal. Now we are going to switch gears here and move into item mode, as Liiv SANDBOX with item mode priority, and on paper they are the favorite team here in item. It's going to be Mind Motherload there for track number 1. After that, we will go to Forest Misty Falls, Graveyard Dark Castle, and then should there be a track 4 and track 5, they will be World Tour London Night and Factory Cogwheel Crush, which is kind of a crazy pick there.
Yeah.
For track 5 for Liiv SANDBOX. But yeah, I'm with you. I feel the momentum has shifted here in phase number 1. I'm absolutely thinking Liiv SANDBOX has what it takes to bring down the Freaks.
To contextualize why we think Liiv SANDBOX is stronger in item, they have a former item ace and a dedicated item ace, so almost 2. KWANGDONGFREECS don't have any. They're a 4-man roster. They don't have someone dedicated for item mode. Their focus has always been speed. We'll see if they can turn this series around as we start item mode off on Mind Motherload. Liiv SANDBOX in Phase 1 have the speed win here. 3 wins and item is all they need to start this series off 1-0.
I mean, if any team in the world can take down KWANGDONGFREECS in item mode, I feel like it's going to be Liiv SANDBOX. As a nice water balloon comes in from the item ace, able to catch World there and slow down KDF a little bit.
Early Angel popped here just to give Cool that extra momentum, and we can see that tempo come through as World's also going to pop a magnet early. They want to get 2 front runners up here so that they can actually allow Cool to absorb as much of the pressure so World can build that distance. But in a 3-lap track like this, it usually doesn't work out this early. And I think KWANGDONGFREECS' strategy may have backfired a little bit here. A lot of resources used.
Double magnet right there used on World, going up that uphill as he loses a ton of momentum. And now Hyunsu and Jimin, at least for the moment, will be taking the top 3 positions there alongside World, really threatening and putting a damper on this tempo-based play that World is trying. Now Dalda, the item ace, once again coming through with a nice siren there. This is one of those higher difficulty tracks, so these items can pop. Just spins it out. Shield gets popped, absorbing some of the aggro as World once again back in the lead.
Yeah, I mean, this is a quite unusual approach, because usually you give up after losing momentum like that, but they keep using the Angels early. He popped 2 shields, he had the EMP, he still maintained first place, and again, they have more people around him. He's going to avoid this bomb. Let's see what he picks up. Can he grab 2 shields? He does. Goes on the diagonal, gets 2 shields, and I mean, we're getting closer to the 3rd lap, and maybe with him absorbing all of this pressure here, if he just gets someone else up there, if Cool can actually get to that 2nd place spot, he might be able to pull this off, but Youngsu's already passed him now, and he's got the big banana.
Big banana gets dropped. Nobody does hit it. As Cool's gonna come in. Oh man, the boost plus the siren actually just bought so much room.
That was massive
For KDF. And now Spear can try and do a little bit of sweeping. If he can get an attack or 2 here, that could be very big for KDF. Cool right now still in the lead, but Dalda with double magnet is gonna be able to slow this down, and he's actually gonna take the lead here on the shortcut. He does fall down for the moment, but Cool's really been slowed down, and Jimin as well. He has 2 magnets.
2 magnets here as we get towards the end of this 3rd lap. 500 meters to go, magnets out, and they just push through. They've found the timing here. Cool's got a bomb.
Wow.
How good is it going to be this time? He misses.
That's going to be it, man. LSB taking track number 1 as KDF hard committing to the tempo play. Absolutely investing everything. The item rotations were about as fast as they could possibly be. Oftentimes on tracks like these ones, we see players try to hold on to the big team play items like Angel Shields for critical moments, but instead, for the Freaks, they just wanted to cycle everything through. They want to take every possible item they could from every box along the route. But in this case, I mean, LSB got so many magnets in the front. I can't even count how many times the lead racers for KDF were getting magneted. I think it might have been like 5 or 6 over the course of that
and
track.
Dalda are the players who know the timings more than anybody here in this league. And so you try to get that tempo, but it backfires. You don't have enough of it. You lose a lot of momentum, and then that item timing there at the end with the magnets just so easy to pull off. It looked like I was watching preseason 1 again, and KWANGDONG looked clueless. Liiv SANDBOX, massive momentum now. They took speed. They've now got the first win on item. KWANGDONGFREECS are really going to have to get their heads back into this.
Well, we are going to go to their track next. A 2-star difficulty track coming in. It will be Forest Misty Falls as Phase 1 continues here for the Grand Finals. Liiv SANDBOX, can they keep this momentum going? Continue on here with item round 2. LSB a little bit behind in the track winning rate over the course of this season. However, gotta say, the favored item mode team coming through this one, and Dalda off to a great start there at position 1.
Yep, Hyunsu narrowly making that jump there. Almost looked like he was going to be a little bit shy for a moment. As Cool will eat the first UFO. And Hyunsu got a rocket here. See if he wants to hold it. Going to toss that water bomb first.
Yeah, he's been holding on to this water bomb for a while. I thought he was waiting to line it up and try and get 2 or 3 different KDF players. Does finally get Cool.
Cool gonna eat that wisp.
Yeah, a little bit of damage coming through. And Dalda right now in pole position yet again, although magnets popping here for KDF.
And I do wonder if it's wise to be using magnets on first laps on these 3-lap tracks like we're seeing Cool use, because he gained very little from that. He's cycling to obviously be able to then have a shield and get other value, but if you hold on to that magnet, sometimes you can get a little bit more of an advantage if you cycle through players. But either way, he still maintains first for now. We're on that 2nd lap here. See if he can hold on to his position, because he's again outnumbered, and this time faster than he was on the previous track.
Yeah, more water bombs coming in. We'll see if any of them are able to connect with Cool, although with him being so close to Dalda and Jimin, I would not be surprised to see Hyunsu and Byungsu hold on to those ones for quite a while. So the former item ace still in first place right now. He's able to cycle out his items, pick up a banana and a shield.
Spear's got some magnets here. He's going to pop one. He has a second one at the ready. Barrier here not going to connect onto Cool.
Slowed everybody down, though.
Yeah, this is actually still looking somewhat promising here for KWANGDONG if they can get one major hit, one big item to connect. Oh, that's huge. Spear knocked back.
Yeah, and I'm actually looking at the Nitrous right now. Hyunsu and Byungsu, both of them holding on to one Nitrous, and Hyunsu in a pretty good position, too. If he can get something like a magnet, okay, it is just going to be a shield, so he pops the Nitrous instead. Going to try and close the distance there on Cool. That Nitrous will allow him to work his way up into first place for a moment, but Cool with the better line. Able to maintain it. 300 meters left to go, Wolf.
Byungsu should be able to hit Cool here, though, unless he's got the shield for that. He does not. And that's going to be it. Byungsu just passed him there. Luck of the draw on that one. Run out of defensive items. He's got a rocket. You're outnumbered. And it feels like I watched a different version of what happened in track 1 here repeat itself. And I think if Cool has some support from a lightning pickup, for example, or if he has an extra angel shield with his teammates there to have that final push, it feels a lot safer. But he's just racing against everybody on the side of Liiv SANDBOX. So use the tempo more correctly, have that finish set up, and you're just going to be outgunned in the end. Sungbin here dropping down to second. And Byungsu will take it there by 2 seconds with that final rocket connecting. And Liiv SANDBOX are dominating this team right now in item mode.
Yeah, I feel like over the course of these 3-lap tracks, lap number 1 and lap number 2, remarkably close, but once we get down that final stretch, both in track 1 and in track 2, LSB just has a better game plan, and that could just be the depth of this roster, having an item ace and a former item ace coming through with a shot calling. Let's see if they can sweep item mode and take phase number 1 here in the grand finals. We're moving on to track number 3, Graveyard Dark Castle.
Liiv SANDBOX 1 track away from taking phase 1, 2-0 here. But Spear will have the better start on the track selection here. Look at the track win rates at the bottom left, 83% for Liiv SANDBOX, one of their better tracks and one of the worst tracks here for KWANGDONGFREECS, and they haven't played it that much either. This is absolutely a constant battle track where you're always looking for bombs, you're always using your items aggressively. It does suit the playstyle we've been seeing from KWANGDONGFREECS so far in this item mode in phase 1. See if they can make it happen this time around. Otherwise, they lose this phase.
Yeah, some more attacks there coming in, and LSB absolutely dominating the midfield right now with so many players. For a moment there, they had 2, 3, 4, 5, and instead right now taking 1, 2, 3. That's a pretty happy LSB right there, as Dalda and Jimin are absolutely dominating this. We're going to get hit with another rocket as we finish lap number 1.
There's just more carts up here again for Liiv SANDBOX, so, you know, they just keep absorbing the pressure, whereas for Spear, he's just taking all of it. There's no one to block for him, there's no one to help him out, there's no angels, there's no defensive items, he just drops back to 7th here. Now you've got 3 Liiv SANDBOX players up in top 4 here. Dalda eats that with a shield, picks up double here, he's gonna drop one right away, and they have not only the big tempo advantage for Dalda, but a lot of bodies here. Now that's going to change things. That's a big water bomb here for KWANGDONGFREECS.
Yeah, Hyunsu and one other player getting caught by that water bomb as World and Spear are going to try and make something happen. World still is in first place, but with this UFO coming in, no EMP to be found. He's going to get slowed down quite a bit. And once again, the story repeats itself here in lap number 2. It's Dalda and Jimin leading the charge.
Yeah, just slow and steady wins the race here, just using your utility slowly over time and building up a large number of carts here. Even if you don't have first and second, if you have more towards the top half, you should win out in the final lap. That's the game plan here for Liiv SANDBOX. A Magnet Nitro combo set up here for Hyunsu, as well as a Wisp is going to get tossed out here now.
Yeah, that has absolutely caught my eye as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hyunsu just held onto those for a really long time here and try to let Dalda and potentially Jimin absorb some of the damage, as Hyunsu is going to pop. Well, actually didn't pop a Nitrous, or he picked another one up. In any case, he is still in first place with some very high value items. 500 meters to go. Oh my goodness, the barricade catches 2 players, and now Byungsu's going to try it on the outside to come in for the victory, but Sungbin might just have enough speed. He speds into the finish line. And man, I gotta say, KDF, I feel like they got bailed out a little bit on that one.
Yeah, look at the size of relief on those players' faces. That barricade saved it for them, and it was well timed. You can see the drivers always want to pull away right outside that portal, because you know when you leave that portal on this track, you're going to come out of one space basically where you could get hit by a water bomb that's well placed there, or a barricade in this case. The barricade actually slows them down enough for someone to take that outer line and push through, and it disrupted the whole game plan for Liiv SANDBOX to use that magnet rush to guarantee it with the blocks we were talking about. The KWANGDONG they were on the edge of defeat, and while the barricade was well placed there, you still got to be feeling pretty rough about how that last track went. You got bailed out, as you said, but you were not winning it for a majority of that time.
Liiv SANDBOX been showing so much skill as we move on to one of the more technical tracks here in item mode. It's going to be World Tour London Night. Match point still for LSB. We continue on here in item mode. Liiv SANDBOX needing one track win to take the Phase 1 victory. KWANGDONGFREECS needing 2 track wins to force a 1v1 ace match here for Phase 1.
Really a lot of momentum in Liiv SANDBOX's side here, as Spear will absorb that water balloon well timed on the shield, but the UFO will connect. A little bit weird for him there. Off the jump will actually drop back to the end. 2 Angels picked up here for KWANGDONGFREECS. They've been using those early so far.
They used another one.
Yeah.
Well, those Angel Shields getting cycled through quite quickly here. I think they're hoping they can find another one before this track is done, because just to put things into perspective here, if you're new to Kart Rider Drift, or new to item mode specifically, World Tour London Night plays a little bit different from most of the other tracks. It's much more about the setup going into the final finish line, the final 300 meters. It's about having nitrous, it's about having magnets, it's about having big
shields,
attacks, whether it be UFOs or thunderbolts. It's not really about tempo. This is very rarely a tempo win track.
Yeah, you almost never will win off of getting a huge advantage. We've seen a lot of players try it. G-Man was famous for trying to do it many times on this track. Actually, Pre-Season 2, that's a big one there. But he's got the magnet nitro combo and a decent amount of distance here in first place. He's probably just going to hold on to that. Okay, tosses, gets past here, but still holding on to those. There's the lightning coming out. If he could just hold this for an entire lap here and just stay in the midfield, do some blocks, maybe he doesn't actually cycle these and just holds it for that final push. Because this is the timing we were talking about. The observer's very well aware of this too, tracking him now.
Yeah, Jimin's still holding on to those key items, as he's going to hope that Hyunsu and Dalda can absorb some of this damage for him. Double Angel Shield in the bank here for LSB, so they can absorb a lot of aggro coming in from KWANGDONGFREECS. As you see, most of these players, Jimin now is going to pop that. Oh, goes through the Water Wisp. Will that be able to connect on Whirl? No, the shield is going to be able to block it. Whirl with a lot of speed right now, 400 meters to go, but Jimin, can he have enough momentum? Sungmin gets caught by a Water Wisp.
The shield?
The shield, but he gets spinned out and whirled on the outside alongside Spear is going to be able to cross the finish line first. And while LSB, I feel like they had a very good shot with the items they had in the bank. KWANGDONGFREECS played that one, frankly, a little bit better at the finish line.
And I think Jimin, it wasn't a mistake to actually use it early, because that's not really the timing window you want to finish the track with. But he realized, my team doesn't have midfield control. I'm outnumbered. I actually have to pop this right now and try to pick up a shield to absorb that pressure in my nitro push and then try to cross the finish line. But there was just too much distance left. He didn't have the momentum he needed to finish there. Gets hit by a rocket eventually, but I still think it was the right call to try to go for it early. If he waits any longer, there's just no chance he's going to be able to break through there. He doesn't have a shield if he doesn't get that last item box. So he realized, going for my combo, grab that last shield, maybe it'll be enough. It wasn't, however, and now we're going to a 5th one here. Maybe KWANGDONGFREECS could actually reverse sweep the item here and bring us to that ace match.
Track number 5 about to come up. KWANGDONGFREECS fighting for their life here in Phase 1. Liiv SANDBOX trying to close this one out with a victory. Let's go on to one of the most peculiar and unique tracks, Factory Cogwheel Crush.
Off we go, 2-2 here. KWANGDONGFREECS have absolutely turned the momentum around. G-Man gonna look for some strong items here. We'll grab a UFO early. The winner of this will determine whether we are going to a 2-0 here for Liiv SANDBOX in Phase 1, or if we're going to an ace match here to decide the first phase. So much on the line here for KWANGDONGFREECS.
I mean, absolutely is. Cogwheel Crush, one of these tracks that, I mean, we don't see very often in item mode, whether it be in the regular season or in the postseason. It just plays so differently with all the obstacles that are thrown around here. There are also some spots like this ramp where water balloons, if you're able to time them out correctly, can get a ton of damage done, but
there's just so much volatility here with the environmental hazards of the track, these doors that open and close, the bananas that are placed on conveyor belts, shortcuts. There's so much going on here. A lot of pro players like to avoid this track just because it doesn't feel like it's always in your control. And it's insane that it is going to be the one that decides this entire item round here, this 5th and final one. See right now, Cool sitting up in first place, does have a banana. We'll see if he can place it on a choke point up here. Maybe going to try to toss it out now. Nope, just hold it. Not get anything.
Comes in with a radar, gets a quick look at the item inventory there for KDF, and I think what he did, they might have had only one item in total in the bank, as everyone's cycling through about as quickly as they possibly can. Byung-Soo fishing for a couple more siren shots, but only gets the one block right there as Dalda continuing to take this lead. He is able to go right behind that banana peel as Spear comes through with double EMP. Not really the item inventory you want to have there in the front.
Not really, and double shield here could be utilized for his teammates if he drops back. He is going to get hit by that alarm, and we'll sit back now. Cool blocks this bomb that was really well timed. That's the choke point you were talking about in the previous lap. Let's see if anyone can pass Cool right now. Hyunsu does have a nitro.
Might come down to that shortcut. We'll have to see exactly what the timing is going to be. And actually, yeah, both Hyunsu and Cool are going to go through this one. The difference is Hyunsu right now, he has a nitrous. Cool does not. Cool with only a shield. 300 meters left to go. And Hyunsu's going to boost his way to that finish line unless some attacks come in. The shield pops. And LSB is going to take phase 1 of this best of 3, man. What a world we're living in right now. LSB wins speed. They win item mode. And now KDF is up against the ropes going into phase 2.
Absolutely. And the way that was played out by Hyunsu was just incredible because he had, I think, 3 different opportunities to cycle that nitro out to say, I'm going to look for an attacking item. But instead, he holds it. Instead, he waits for his moment. He's like, it's RNG. If they get a rocket on me and I don't have a shield, that's it. But I better hold this nitro because if they don't have any way to stop my nitro, if he's just holding shields, if he's stacking shields, that's the one card, that's the one ace I have up my sleeve. You can't block me boost and pass with that shield. You can block a rocket, you can block a bomb. I guarantee he's probably got shields. You have a higher chance of picking up shields at the front of the pack than you will of ever getting another nitro. He holds a nitro, he pulls it off. Great decision making here. And that's going to be what wins Liiv SANDBOX, that final track. Both of these going the distance all the way to 5, but it's now a 1-0 for Liiv SANDBOX.
This is only the 2nd time this year in the KDL that Liiv SANDBOX has been able to take a set from KWANGDONGFREECS. In the 2nd preseason, they were able to win one of the phases, much like they just won this one, but they ultimately were defeated in the final King of the Hill showdown. But now, they're riding a lot of momentum, Wolf. 3-2 in speed, 3-2 in item. Yes, it was remarkably close, but a win is a win.
A win is a win. And you got to be scared if you're KWANGDONG because item, you know, that could have been shaky always, right? You knew that Liiv SANDBOX is a stronger team in item mode, but the way they lost speed, you know, is what really concerns you if you're a KWANGDONGFREECS fan, because you're probably also feeling confident about ace matches, but if you don't get to go there because you lose speed and then the item goes the way of Liiv SANDBOX, it could be rough. But we're going to take a short break, guys. When we come back, finals, phase 2.